This week, the aches and pains of getting old. Don't worry, it's not that bad. Also, Dave and I engage in a little coffee talk. And finally, it's Christmas toys and Christmas memories from under the tree. This is the Rural Reflections Podcast. Dave Nelson in Carrington, North Dakota, and myself, Grant Nelson, here at Thief River Falls Radio. And I did go ahead, Dave, and edit out that groan before we got on the air, which was as a result of me shifting within my chair. So, I mean, that gives you a little indication of all my body parts don't wake up at the same time in the morning.
Yeah, you can kind of, sometimes you have to nudge them a little bit to get them to start moving and working. The older you get, the more common that is. I was wondering if somebody had come in the room or something and did you in when I heard that at first, but I'm glad to hear you're around.
Yeah, it was the loud or the loudness of my groan was probably a little bit more overdone, but it kind of kickstarts me when I get going, so that's what I have to do. And I tell you, I didn't do anything yesterday except I did a little online shopping yesterday. I did some purchasing locally too, because we try and balance all that out. Try to do more about 80-20 on local to online, but try and do a little bit of all that sort of thing. And then in the afternoon, I finally did that rite of passage into winter, which is cleaning out the shop. So that was kind of fun. Actually, I was amazed it wasn't really that dirty out there because I just really hadn't done that much out there this summer.
I did that a while ago. I don't remember when it was, when there was a tread of snow, I think, one day, and I took and, I have to run the lawnmower out of gas and the tiller out of gas and put some gas into the snowblower, and then I move the snowblower into the garage so it's handy to get at. And now the snowblower's just been sitting there.
Yep.
Because we just can't get any snow, which is really a good thing as far as I'm concerned.
We must be leading parallel lives because that sounds like all the same things I've done. Even when I used to have the little push mower for doing trimming, I think I kept the same piece of string to tie down the safety bar so I could let it run and run and run until it ran out of gas. I mean, some of those fun little traditions, they just are a rite of passage for each winter and each spring and summer and that sort of thing. But now we're coming up to Christmas. We don't have much or any snow, but we're only, a couple weeks off from Christmas. Are you ready to go?
I'm ready to have a brown Christmas. I'm fine with that.
Yep.
Maybe if we get a little skiff of snow on Christmas morning or something like that, whatever, but I'm okay with it, with no snow.
Old Mick Gare says he didn't say we're not going to have any snow, but he said no major snow events before the end of the year. So hopefully we're set up fine for all that sort of thing. And by the way, talking about doing Christmas shopping, which I was a little bit earlier, you and Mary sent us an awfully beautiful Christmas wreath, and it smells so good and it looks so nice, and we really appreciated that. Where did you get that from?
Oh, it was a online thing from a place in Oregon. Sarah knows about it. I didn't do any research. I just picked one out and bought it is all. But it's a place, a farm, I guess they call it, and they make wreaths, and I got 3 of them.
Well, I like it a lot. That Christmas time is kind of fun to get gifts and figure out something for everybody. Although really this year it seems like we're doing a lot of gift cards. And one of the reasons for that is because a lot of the businesses have been kind of shut down or doing curbside delivery only. And it seems like kind of a nice thing to give them a little boost by giving one of those gift cards.
Yeah, I know it's been tough on business. I don't know what to think of some of that. And some businesses, are hit especially hard, and others not too much. But it's not been a good time, I'm sure, for retail.
No. And the one thing, of course, when we talk about business, talk a little bit about farming, we're almost crossing that point at which you can quit worrying about the 2020 season and start worrying about 2021. I mean, really, there's paperwork, there's taxes, and then we're not too many months off from going out and wrenching and making sure everything's ready for the next season.
A good farmer should be worrying about 2021 already, maybe even a little bit of 2022. You just don't know. But gotta look forward all the time, and I know guys that are holding off purchasing because they've purchased enough stuff right now, but they're going to have to do something really quick in 2021, and stuff like that. So there's a lot of planning involved in the farming end of things, and I'm pretty sure now most of these guys have done their tax appointment,
Yep.
and know what they have to do. So.
Yeah, that tax planning's a big deal, and it seems like farming is an awfully big boat to turn now because the farms are pretty good sized, and you have to plan, a year and a half out to make sure you can do at least the most advisable things to hopefully have a pretty good outcome.
Yeah, well, you control what you can anyway.
Dave, I'm halfway through my coffee. Let's wrap up the coffee talk. We'll do an online column quick, and then we'll come back and we're going to talk about Christmas toys on the Rural Reflections podcast. I'm Grant Nelson, and this is Rural Reflections. Now, I've not talked about a project for some time. After retiring from the sheriff's office and starting a new job, life itself was enough of a project. It's been a year now. It's time again for projects. Most of my projects are stacked or layered, which occurs for a variety of reasons. The first is resources. Money and time. Most often, I have to take a project in stages and treat it as several standalone projects. I do this so I can finish the project in a reasonable amount of time using the money I have and still have something that either looks good by itself or helps make life better. Later, I can add on to that project and increase the benefits it offers. Okay, that's the game plan. Let's talk projects. My featured project this fall has been mounting a cupola on top of a pergola. This little yard feature started out a decade ago as a patio, which then graduated to a pergola and recently received the crown of the cupola. I guarantee that I had no idea that slab of concrete would become what it is today. You're up to speed now, so let's start in where the cupola entered the scene. That cupola was from my parents' first farm. They rented the farm prior to moving to Viking in 1953 or so. The current owners were tearing it down, so I stopped over and asked if I could purchase the cupola. I wasn't sure what I was going to do with it, but I had to have it. The first plans I made were structurally suspect and aesthetically weak. I looked around one day for a place to mount it, and the pergola just leapt into view. I built a subframe on top of the pergola over a month ago. I knew it was strong enough to bear the weight, however, I was a little concerned about side-to-side movement due to the wind. I spent some time adding braces without detracting from the look of the pergola. I tried to hide some of the bracing either on the inside corners or on top of the structure. Now, I lifted the cupola on top of the structure with the loader tractor and then pulled it to the middle using a tow strap. It slid pretty easily. However, I was working on a ladder, so emotions ran a little high. Lisa saw what I was doing and just decided not to watch. I hate to be watched when I'm doing something that could end in injury. I mean, if I'm going to either fall, get ran over, or electrocuted, then I want the dignity of going down in privacy. Anyway, things worked out fine. I trimmed out the cupola this past weekend. When I trim something out, it just means I'm using up whatever bits and pieces I have left from the last project. It was fortunate that most of my leftover metal was in barn red, which required a little purchased J-channel to complete. A solar light hangs from under the cupola, which makes it all kind of come alive. If you'd like to see some pictures, check out RealReflections.net. A project is like life in that it's best accomplished in stages. It was nice to get back to a stage that includes projects. I'm Grant Nelson. This is Real Reflections. Welcome back to the Real Reflections podcast. Got Dave Nelson over in Carrington, North Dakota. Got Grant Nelson here at the studios of Thief River Falls Radio. And we're coming up on Christmas. Of course, there's a lot more important things about Christmas than just the presents, like the birth of Jesus. But presents are kind of a touchstone for maybe some of the nostalgia that we feel about Christmas and part of the celebration of Christmas. Dave, any favorite Christmas toys you've received or even given over time?
Well, I think, from when I was a little kid, I specifically remember how I got a BB gun and how I ran out of BBs the next day outside shooting at everything that not necessarily moved, but anything that would make a sound when I hit it or that. But I think that was so when you watch the Christmas movie, I love watching that show. And that kid and his BB gun, I kind of remember some of that. I didn't get the Red Ryder, though. I got the lesser version, but it still shot a lot of BBs.
Did you shoot the silo roof with it?
Oh man, yeah.
That's the best.
You used to just step out the door of the garage and aim about 40 feet up above it.
Yep.
And see if you could hit it from the house. And of course, you could always hear it because it clanged real loud when it hit the roof of the silo. And you could do that from the house.
It was awesome because there would be that ting from the steel roof or the metal roof, and then it would amplify throughout the whole silo. It was just fantastic.
Yeah.
Now, I can think of a couple different Christmas gifts that really stick out in my mind. One was when I got a little guitar. That was really neat. Tonka toys, probably the crane was just that lit my hair on fire. I was amazed at that. And then the multi-band radio that I got from Mom and Dad, AM, FM shortwave, police band, and EMS. And I was amazed by that because I stayed up late listening to that, so much so that I later on in life purchased another one like that was working, but really not that effective anymore because so many of the channels have gone to that 800 trunking frequency, and that wasn't included on that at the time. But you can still get the shortwave, AM, FM, and it still has that beautiful fake leatherette case, and it brings back such fantastic memories. I mean, it really does it for me. But what I think the farm toys are probably what really make it for me. Now, I remember you giving me, I'm going to guess on this, you tell me if I'm wrong, wasn't it a 4430 John Deere that you got me probably back in the late 70s for Christmas?
And probably yeah, it would have been.
And I used that, and I pushed that around out in the gravel pile until I splayed the front tires out on it. So it not terrible, but it was pretty much towed out from then on. But I think those Christmas toys have always been something. I mean, the anticipation. I mean, sitting under the Christmas tree, did you ever do that?
Oh yeah. We sure did. And we used to come sneaking downstairs and get chased back upstairs at night because we were coming down to look at the Christmas tree and the presents, of course. But it was quite a different time then. One toy for Christmas meant everything.
Yeah.
And I remember Steve and I got those Tonka logging trucks, and one of them had square logs on it, the other one had round ones. And they had a chain. You could chain them down, and those red trucks and trailers lived on in the sand pile for years and years and years, and they made toys Well, they still do make, certain toys that are cast aluminum and, steel and stuff, but not like it used to be. I mean, every toy used to be designed for the long haul.
I remember those trucks. Those were single axle trucks, weren't they? The little toy trucks?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because I remember playing with those in the sandbox, and that Christmas tree thing, I always thought it was like a little story or a different kind of community. I mean, there was the community of the camels and the wise men and baby Jesus and the nativity scene. And then there was the North Pole community. And then there was all the tinsel and the lights that kind of strung it together. I mean, that was a whole nother world. Crawling underneath the Christmas tree and looking up from the bottom, to me, was just absolute magic.
Yeah, it was a big deal.
The only thing I didn't like doing, and I still don't like doing it, that's probably why we have a artificial tree, is I hated crawling underneath there and loading water into the Christmas tree stand. I mean, what a pain.
Yeah, then moving the tree out and spilling rusty water all over everything when it's time to get rid of it.
Isn't that the truth? Yeah, because we had one of those 3-point stands with the green legs and then the red-shaped kind of cup in the bottom for holding the water, and then the little twist-ins on the outside to hold the tree.
Yeah. So have you ever seen a Christmas tree made out of Christmas tree stands?
No.
That's kind of interesting. I saw a picture of one yesterday, and they just take that kind of Christmas tree stand and, try and get 4 different sizes and stack them on top of each other, hold them together somehow and decorate it. It's interesting. I don't know that I would want to do it, but it looked really good.
That sounds like a good Mary project.
No, there's metal involved there, so it would be, Dave, can you weld this together? Or, something like that. But, I don't, and probably couldn't lift it after it was put together.
Probably not. You'd put lots of bracing in there. Just want to make sure that it can at least hold a ton of straight line weight. Even though it's just going to be a decoration, you got to make sure it can hold a ton, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
This is a good conversation. We got a couple more weeks, or at least a week or two before Christmas. I think we're going to have to carry this on next week. But you got anything else for us there, Dave?
I guess not. Just hope the weather stays nice and everybody has a Merry Christmas.
It sounds good to me. That's my brother Dave Nelson in Carrington, North Dakota. I'm Grant Nelson here at the studios of Thief River Falls Radio. And Merry Christmas from the Rural Reflections Podcast.